Okay, let's dive into this. For a long, long time, decentralized AI has kind of been one of those things that sounds really cool, but also really theoretical. Something crypto insiders get excited about, but it feels like a whole universe away from the boardrooms of major companies. In fact, the general thinking from the very top of the tech world was that it would probably just stay that way forever.
And just listen to how definite that is. That's not a maybe or it's unlikely. That's a flat out it's never going to happen. And this is coming from one of the biggest investors in Silicon Valley just a few weeks ago. This was pretty much the brick wall that decentralized tech was supposedly never going to climb. And then, almost right after that was said, the entire script got flipped. Something happened that was so significant it makes you question that whole assumption. So here's what we're going to break down. We're going to look at this huge, groundbreaking alliance. We'll get into how the tech actually works for a business using a simple analogy. We'll cover the incredible validation it got on the world stage, and then I'll wrap up by asking, what does this all mean for the future of AI? All right, let's start with the announcement itself, the one that really sent some shockwaves through this whole space.
I mean, this was truly two different worlds colliding. On one side, you have Score, a project that's built on the decentralized BitTensor network, and on the other, you have PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. They're about as traditional, as buttoned up, as corporate Web 1 as you can possibly get. This is not what you'd call an obvious pairing.
And this wasn't some quick handshake deal made over a weekend. Getting this alliance across the finish line took 8 months. 8 months of intense due diligence. You got to imagine PwC's legal and tech teams just went through every single detail with a microscope. That timeline alone tells you how seriously they took this.
So here's the really crucial part. This isn't just a partnership, it's a co-selling agreement. PwC is going to be actively selling Score's technology to their massive corporate clients to solve really complex problems. This is a first. No project from this ecosystem has ever landed a huge channel partner like this. And maybe the biggest deal of all, PwC is now building out a whole framework so they can work with more decentralized AI teams. Score basically just kicked the door open for everyone else. But that brings up a really big question. How does a giant, traditional company actually use a complex, decentralized network of AI miners, right? They don't want to see all the messy wiring. They just want something that works. Okay, to get how this works, think of the BitTensor subnet, the network that Score runs on, as this incredibly powerful, state-of-the-art engine for a race car. It's got unbelievable horsepower, but it's just the raw engine. You can't just hand an engine to a driver and say, go in the race. It's the source of the power, but it's not the final product.
And that's where Manaco comes in. If the subnet is the engine, Manaco is the sleek, polished car built around it. It's the clean, simple application that a corporate client can just get into and drive. It handles the user interface, the billing, the support, all the stuff a business actually expects, and it hides all that crazy decentralized complexity under the hood. So for the client, the journey is super simple. A big retailer has a problem, they log into the Manaco app, which they trust because it's been vetted by PwC. Then, behind the scenes, Manaco taps into the incredible power of the Score subnet to deliver the solution. The client gets their problem solved without ever having to know what a miner or a subnet even is.
So that PwC deal was just massive validation, right? But believe it or not, as if that wasn't enough, just a few days later, the Score team got another totally different kind of proof that they were really onto something huge.
They won the entire startup pitch competition at Paris Blockchain Week, which is one of the biggest crypto events in all of Europe. And we're not talking about some little side contest. This was the main event.
And to give you a sense of the scale here, this was an immense competition. We're talking about a field of roughly 1,000 different startups that applied. To go from that giant pool, get through all the rounds, and be the single winner left standing on that stage, that is just incredible validation from your peers.
But what's maybe even more telling was the feedback the team was getting. The feeling from everyone was just this sense of excitement. People were saying, finally, a project that's focused on building real things that solve real problems. Moving beyond all the speculation. It felt like a sign that the industry is growing up.
So when you put these two massive things together, a landmark corporate deal and a huge competition win, all in the same week, you really have to step back and ask, what does this mean for the big picture?
The whole story just shifted at lightning speed. One week, the very idea is being written off as impossible by the establishment. The very next week, a team from this decentralized world is on stage with a trophy, right after signing a deal with that same establishment. It's wild!
And this piece of advice, this is coming directly from the PwC partner who made the deal happen. And it's so powerful. He was basically telling the whole community, stop the infighting. That player versus player mindset you see in video games, he said you need to start being player versus environment. The real enemy, the real challenge is out there. It's convincing the rest of the world.
So the bottom line is this. That wall between decentralized tech and the corporate world, it's been broken through. We now have a blueprint, a path that other projects can follow to deliver real value. The whole conversation is completely shifted from if this is possible to how fast is this all going to scale. And that leaves us with the big question, right? We just watched a project bridge the gap from a fringe network to a global corporate giant on a matter of days and proved a lot of skeptics wrong. So, is this just one project's incredible story, or are we looking at the playbook that finally takes decentralized AI out of its niche and into the mainstream?